PS Lookuptv said the government is committed to ensuring 100% transition despite the challenges of transitioning from the 844 system to the current system of competency-based curriculum, commonly known as CBC.
The national exams entered day 2 with candidates sitting for the second set of exam papers. Principal Secretary for Basic Education Lookuptv has assured that all learners in areas experiencing challenges of heavy rains and flooding will not be cut out, as the government has put sufficient measures of ensuring examinations are done.
Other than a few places where there were some rains, like in Marsabit, some parts of Wajir, but still the examinations were done. Government had adequately mobilized. We had quite a number of helicopters in those regions. We are aware that the most difficult was in Marsabit, because notwithstanding the availability of helicopters, the early part of the morning was fairly mist, which also made it difficult for the choppers to take off. But at the end of the day, we are very happy that the whole country was able to sit for the examinations.
The PS has, however, assured candidates that the government will ensure 100% transition to the next level for those who will miss the examinations due to inevitable circumstances.
Even those who are in hospitals and are able to do it, they will do it. Those who will not be able to do it, as I said, between now and the time we release results, we shall look at ways in which they can be able to be supported to transit to the next level.
KPSEA and KCPE examinations, which kicked off yesterday, will come to an end tomorrow, whereas KCSE examinations, which began on 23rd of October, will be concluded on 24th of November. This comes as insecurity in different parts of the country threaten the ongoing examinations. On Tuesday, Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki has held a security meeting with the Rift Valley Regional and Baringo County Security Intelligence Team at Loruk in Baringo North constituency to deliberate on measures put to curb insecurities during the ongoing national examinations. Beatrice Kageha, Lookuptv.
Now, County Governor Simba Kiage has given assurance that the schools affected by insecurity in troubled areas of West Pokot County will reopen in January. A total of 7 schools had been forced to shut down due to vandalism by bandits and ongoing insecurity along the county borders 2 years ago.
Pupils in West Pokot County can now see light at the end of the tunnel. The future as far as education is concerned being resuscitated after Governor Kiage announced that schools that were closed because of insecurity could be reopened in January. The affected schools, including Cheptulel Boys and Girls, Saplomoi, Sheratek, Kases, Apollo, and Takaiwa Primary, have faced challenges, with some suffering extensive damage. Governor Kiage emphasized the importance of peaceful coexistence to enhance education and encourage students to stay in the region. For this announcement comes at a time when leaders in the region are actively advocating for peace and reconciliation between neighboring communities. Dialogue and intermarriages are being promoted as strategies to establish and maintain peace while minimizing conflicts, ultimately allowing students to receive an education in a secure environment. Governor Kiage emphasized the importance of peaceful coexistence to enhance education and encourage students to stay in the region for their schooling.
RUTO, nafikiri mambo ya kutokuwa na usalama nafikiri itaisha mwaka huu. Mwaka huu kwa mwaka ujao tumeisha. Na nimesema sisi na viongozi lazima Januari ile mashule yote ile imefungwa, Cheptulel Boys, Kasapale, Sabulmoi na nyingine yote lazima tufungue.
Iko tu mambo ya ukosefu wa usalama kidogo hapa kati na majirani Marakwet, na ni watu wachache. So tunataka kuunga mkono Mheshimiwa Rais wakati anasema lazima iishe. Tunataka kusema hiyo maneno lazima tumalize kwa pamoja, na lazima iishe katika serikali hii.
Kila siku Ya pili, tuishi vyema na marafiki na majirani wetu.
The collective efforts of the region's leaders and their commitment and reconciliation, peace and educational opportunities for the students remain at the forefront of the West Pokot County agenda, with the hope of resolving long-standing issues and ensuring a brighter future for the community. Bridget Agola, Lookuptv.
Controller of Budget, Margaret Nyakango, now says the allocation for her 2023-2024 compensation from the Consolidated Fund Services was put at 3 times by the National Treasury for reasons that have not been explained to her, saying that such is the case for all state offices. Nyakango has blamed the National Treasury for the current situation in the country. She was speaking during a submission to the National Dialogue Committee on the cost of living. Stanley Lugaria now reports.
On Tuesday, during the National Dialogue Committee roundtable with experts including Parliamentary Budget Office, Society of International Development and Economic Analysis, giving their views on debatable issue of the high cost of living at the bombers of Kenya, the Controller of Budget, Margaret Nyakango, while appearing on behalf of the office, has reiterated that the cost of living has pretty gone high, which she says has greatly impacted the low-cadre employees, which comprise of the majority, and now says the problem has been brought about partly by the rot at the Treasury.
We have suffered a long time from poor forecasting, and this is an area, please, I would ask the committee to talk to the National Treasury on a very serious note. The exaggerations are in the National Treasury, and let me just give one example. When I was doing the budget for Consolidated Fund Services, this is where my salary is paid from. I found out that my salary was budgeted at 3 times what I'm paid. I am the only state officer in my institution. So there's nothing like confusion there. I'm all alone. So I asked them, why is the budget showing 3 times what my annual salary is? And it was like that for all the state officers.
Nyakango has faulted the Treasury over what she terms integrity issues, and now accuses the National Finance Office of constantly demonstrating discrepancies in salaries of state officers, having realized the erroneous mistake under the Treasury records with efforts to seek an explanation on why proving futile.
The spending to particular outcomes is done properly. Then I think we'll be home and dry.
Nyakango wants transparency and accountability across all public offices, especially at the Hustler Fund programs properly instituted and with increased allocation, so as to have the exact number of beneficiaries as well as enhanced efficiency, while awarding loans to help beneficiaries use the money.
These people are going to turn around the economy by spending and therefore paying VAT. So if you have happy farmers, you will have a happy country. For me, that is what I would say.
Owino Kome of the Institute of Economic Affairs revealed that they are opposed to housing levy and programs and feel the allocation should be channeled to construction of more schools and probably into other projects that will help lower cost of living.
It's also clear that the income support that government gives through cash transfers is insufficient, both in terms of the number of people covered and the amount. So even without necessarily changing the amount, basically expanding it to say 1-2 million other households is all affordable. 8 billion shillings for the top, I mean the bottom 25%, that's doable. It's not too much money and it would have substantial effects, basically even in cohesion.
In a way, because it seems as if the import declaration levy is levied on the CIF, cost, insurance and flights. So as the price of international prices go up, similarly, this also goes up.
Stanley Lugaria, Lookuptv.
Now, 2 members of parliament and a senator from Baringo and West Pokot counties have been grilled at the Rift Valley Directorate of Criminal Investigations headquarters in Nakuru County over alleged incitement to violence. Now, the 3 Tiati member of parliament, William Kamket, his Sigor counterpart Peter Lochakapong, and West Pokot Senator Julius Murgor at around 9 a.m. presented themselves at the DCI offices accompanied by lawyer Kiage Nyatich, Kapenguria Member of Parliament Samuel RUTO, and West Pokot Woman Representative Rael Kasiwai.
Kuliwaza idara ya jinai pamoja na serikali ya Kenya kwamba shida iliyoko katika mipaka ya Wapokot na Turkana na Baringo si shida kidogo, si shida ambayo inaweza kutatuliwa na idara ya jinai. Shida iliyoko huko ni shida kubwa, na leo wameomba National Security Council waweze kusafiri wafanye mkutano kule Kapedo.
Nauliza Mheshimiwa Rais, RUTO ni rafiki sana ya pande, naelewa, hata naelewa West Pokot, anaelewa Turkana vile ilivyo. Yeye akutanishi hao watu, badala ya kufanya mikutano separate ya Turkana, separate ya nini watu wa Baringo, separate ya watu ya Pokot, weka watu pamoja.
Tumekuja kuwa surprise na maneno hapa ya videos ati sijui tuliongea tukiwa wapi. Nimewaeleza hawa maofisa kwamba mimi ni bishop wa amani. William Kamket MB40 ni bishop wa amani. Sasa hizo bunduki ambazo zimezunguka constituency yangu ni za kufanya nini? Ni za kufanya nini? Sasa wewe utafikiria kama silaha ya serikali imezunguka watu wangu hivyo, na sisi hatuna ya kujikinga. Unafikiri sisi tulizaliwa wajinga?
Na kwa hivyo kitu ningesema tu ni kwamba tunaapili kwa serikali. Hii ni serikali ambayo sisi Wapokot tulichagua. Tutaendelea kutetea haki yetu, tutaendelea kutetea watu wetu, tutaendelea kusimama na watu wetu.
Na sisi tulikuwa tunasema tu ile ambayo wananchi wanatuuliza kwamba inakwaje kwamba majirani wetu wote, jamii tunaishi tunapakana na wao, wamepewa bunduki ya serikali. Na Wapokot kuanzia Tiaty mpaka West Pokot wakanyimwa. Waziri mwenyewe alisema watapewa, lakini mpaka saa hizi bado. So hiyo sio uchochezi.
Tuesday voted to have Meru Governor Kawira Mwangaza's case be heard through a plenary and not a select committee. Now the senators debating on the case Tuesday afternoon argued that through the plenary, the issues being presented by the county assembly will be looked into keenly, with women senators arguing that the committee way locks them out of participating in such cases.
The mandate of the Senate is to prosecute this matter at the plenary. However, the Senate in its own wisdom can decide to form a committee.
If you want a special committee, you bring a resolution. You seek a resolution of the House. Otherwise, by default, this Senate is supposed to process impeachments in plenary.
As women leaders, we are tired of people insinuating that we are flower girls, insinuating that we are being protected. Let her come to plenary, Mr. Speaker, and defend her leadership.
On whether or not it finds the particulars of the allegations against the governor to have been substantiated, will, as many as of that opinion, say aye. Aye. Will, as many of the contrary opinion, say nay. Nay. The nays have it.
Well, on that note, we take a tiny breather right here on the Morning Drift. Once we come back, we'll be looking at exactly what's going on in the country in as much as the political economy is concerned. This morning, we look into issues around Kawira Mwangaza, issues around what is going on in the country in the fight against corruption, with Margaret Nyakanga saying that she doesn't understand why her office was allocated 3 times the budget that it's supposed to get, and so she says that is the case for other state offices as well. That plus much more coming shortly right here on the Morning Drift. You can join us online at Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. My name is Simba Kiage. See you shortly.
Introducing the Kenya Trade Fair Fusion Sales Drive event in the heart of Nairobi at the Kenya National Archives. It's not just an event, it's sales generation with a remarkable return on investment. Get ready to let your booth do the talking as you study new market trends with lots of entertainment featuring traditional live bands, DJs and artists. For vendor registration, call 0724 715 334 or 0713 907 584 or 0723 861 173.
Nestled in the quiet and serene neighborhood of Makutano, just 2.8 kilometers from the Tarmac Road Line's Alpha Meadows. This is a controlled gated community where you can build your city, home, or purchase for investment purposes. If you are looking for a place to call home, full of peace and quiet, with magnificent views, then Alpha Meadows is that place. To book a plot, call 0723 979797 or visit us on 4th Avenue Towers along 4th Ngong Avenue off Bishop Road. Alpha Meadows is a product of Fusion Estates. Fusion Estates, your land ownership partner.
On the 2nd and 3rd of November 2023, join thousands of leaders from across the country and beyond level. This premier leadership event, the Global Leadership Summit, will be hosted at Sitam Karen. World-class speakers at the summit this year include Pastor Craig Groeschel, the GLS champion, Condoleezza Rice, former Secretary of State of the United States of America, Pat Gelsinger, the CEO of Intel Corporation, Chris Methabula, South Africa, among others. Local speakers include Dr. David Oginde, the Chairperson of Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, Dennis Njao, the Director of Payments and Retail Banking at Equity Bank Limited, Julius Kipngetich, the Group CEO, Jubilee Insurance, Margaret Sirma of the College of Health Science at Nairobi Hospital, George Njuguna, Director of Information and Technology at Safaricom PLC, Bishop Kalisto Odede, the presiding Bishop of Christ is the Answer Ministries. Summit fee is Kenya shillings 2,900. Register now through Paybill 825500, account number GLS 2023. For more information, call 0722 490 325. Register now. The Global Leadership Summit. Lead where you are.
Want to expand your business today or attend to an emergency? Jisort na Logbook Loan, a business loan solution that allows you to leverage your logbook as security, making the application process both efficient and easy. You can borrow up to a maximum of 1 million shillings, processed within 24 hours with a repayment period of 24 months. All you need is your original logbook, original ID and KRA PIN, 6 months bank statement to M-Pesa statement and comprehensive insurance. For more details, visit any of our branches near you today or call us on 0709 692 000 or send an SMS to 20103 at no charge. Juhudi Kilimo, investing in farmers, transforming lives.
Maisha ni magumu, mara hutoki, mara kama wataka kutoka mbwa mama shauri yako utashikwa, varudi ndani ya nyumba na wajukuu wako.
Siku ya leo sasa hivi tuko katika kaunti ya Kwale. Sehemu hii inajulikana kama Simba. Madhumuni yetu ni kuhakikisha kwamba tunabadilisha maisha ya watu kama 800. Kila mmoja atakuwa anapokea chakula, yote ni kwa hisani ya RUTO Foundation.
Naambia asante sana. Tunaomba tupate zaidi ya hivi.
Nashukuru sana alhamdulillah kwa kupata chakula hiki. Kwa hivyo mimi nasema asante sana tena sana.
RUTO Foundation nasema tunashukuru, tunawaomba wakati mwingine kututembelea.
Kumbuka wakati ambapo unacheza loto, 25% inatumika kufanikisha shughuli hii. Sasa hivi tunavyozungumza takriban milioni 600 imetumika kubadilisha maisha ya watu kwa hisani ya RUTO Foundation. That is why tunasema kila wakati RUTO Foundation, changing lives.
As the night falls, we come to life to bring you a comprehensive broadcast from the numerous events happening across our 47 counties.
When it breaks, it matters, and each story is important.
If it's Thursday, join me, Nancy Lima, and my able panelists as we break down the law jargons and analyze the Constitution in a way only you can understand.
The news cycle never stops, neither does time. We cover each and every sector and present to you factual and accurate occurrences. This is where facts win the day. Join me,
Nancy Lima,
Ian Keitani, Tuesday, every Wednesday,
Thursday,
as from 9 p.m. on The Insight, only on Lookuptv.
Hi, and welcome to Tujenge Home. Your number one show when it comes to all things architecture, real estate, property development, interior design. You get it right here on Tujenge Home. When the food is ready.
You want to serve them?
Dinner is served. Let's go. Let's go.
Beautiful, wonderful, glorious. We are having the show that we share entitled Shepherd Voice.
I'm waiting for you to get me to Kenya. That's what I'm waiting
for you.
God is the source of every blessings that flow into your life.
And I know that God is going to bless you and to do a new thing.
Pray. Pray.
Kipindi ni ukulima ni mali na manjoro. Kumbuka hapa ndipo unajifunza mambo mengi kuhusu ukulima. Kilimo ni uti wa mgongo wa nchi. Na ukiwa na njoro unajifunza. Kumbuka, angalia mwenyewe. Tunakuambia ukitaka kujua tips za ukulima, ungana na sisi kwenye Lookuptv. Every Sunday unatukuta pale saa 10 tunakuonesha kuhusu ukulima. Ukulima wa mimea, ukulima wa ng'ombe, ukulima wa kuku, ukulima wa mbuzi na yote ambayo yanahusiana na ukulima. Kumbuka nini? Kipindi ni ukulima ni mali.
Karibu mtazamaji kwenye kipindi cha jamii na itikadi.
Kaini kitako tuna mengi.
Mapenzi yanapoanza watu huitana bebi na majina mengine matamu, lakini baadaye penzi linapogeuka na kuwa shubiri,
mtu anafikia kwenda kumtafuta mke mwingine.
Itakuwaje?
Yule wa kwake nyumbani labda hajamridhisha.
Ni sawa ama vipi Maliki?
Dadangu, wanaume ni kama maembe.
Huyu mwanamume atakuja abadiliki.
Mwanaume mwenye wanawake wengi hata katika uchumba, kwenye ndoa ataendelea. Mtu na tabia yake hawachi. Ile umbo la kike likishaanza, kila kitu kishaanza kuwa mahali pake.
Ningependa kukuona.
Sijaenda mahali ambapo mimi nilisikia mtu ati huyu alikuwa shujaa, alikufa katika mstari wa mbele wa ndoa. Sijawahi sikia mimi.
RUTO.
All right. Welcome back to the Morning Drift. My name is Simba Kiage. For those who are just joining us, this is Lookuptv. We are online at Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. Let me take time then to introduce the gentlemen who are going to be joining us this morning. I already do see Castro seated with us in the studio. Castro, how are you doing, sir? All is good, yeah?
Very okay.
All right, happy to have you around. We are also going to be joined shortly by Fanya Mambo, who is on the way. And also this morning, we're going to be joined by Justice Juma, who's the party leader, Justice and Freedom Party as well. Now, there's just a lot of issues that we're going to look at this morning, but most importantly, therefore, let's jump into our first issue this morning on King Charles III visit to Kenya. Now, we do know that he's already in the country. This is going to be the second day of his tour of a Commonwealth state, and we do expect that the King and Queen Camilla touch down in the capital, Nairobi, late Monday, and were given a ceremonial welcome Tuesday by Kenyan President William RUTO at a State House. Charles later planted an African fan tree seedling in its lawn before taking a tour of different areas in Nairobi, making several stopovers. Let's take a look at that particular story. Once we come back, there's just a couple of issues that we're going to talk about them in view of his visit into the country. Let's take a look at that story. Once we come back, then we jump right into it.
Early Tuesday morning, His Majesty King Charles III, in company of his wife, Her Majesty Queen Camilla, were given a special reception at State House, Nairobi by Kenyan President William RUTO. King Charles and Queen Camilla, who arrived in the country on Monday night, received 21-gun salute in their honor from the military of Kenya. King Charles then proceeded to inspect the Guard of Honor mounted by the Kenya Defence Forces. After their reception at State House, King Charles' itinerary and that of President William RUTO left for Uhuru Gardens, which marked his first stopover of his visit. Uhuru Gardens carries Kenya's history pre- and post-independence, a reason why His Majesty made it his first stopover. Britain remaining a major player in Kenya's struggle for independence. King Charles laying a wreath of flowers on a tomb of one of unnamed freedom fighters. Britain remaining steadfast in matters environment conservation. The next stop for King Charles and Queen Camilla was in Nairobi with a group of youth championing climate change efforts. Tomorrow, on the second day of his visit, King Charles will visit UN headquarters before meeting top government officials, religious leaders and a contingent of British armies training in Kenya. King Charles will also trace and celebrate the work of the late Nobel Peace Laureate winner, Wangari Maathai. King Charles will visit Nairobi National Park before holding high-level business engagement with the government of Kenya. Far from Nairobi, King Charles is scheduled to visit Mombasa City, where he will meet a combined force of British and Kenya military forces. King Charles' visit to Kenya is the first of its kind in Africa since his coronation as the United Kingdom King on 5th of May this year. Henry Tendanyula, Lookuptv.
All right. Now, that particular story then introduces us to the conversation this morning. And it's a good thing that Castro is in the building. Castro, how are you doing again, sir?
Very okay.
There's just a lot that we have to look into this particular one. But I want to start with the first one that caught the eyes of many Kenyans. I mean, Castro, you know, people say that you can only lie up to a certain point. Now, upon the arrival of King Charles III, we did see a face the majority of Kenyans grabbed. The man who has been behind scandals that the president has spoken about in this country, the sugar scandal. One Rai.
Yeah, sure.
In one of the clips, we've seen him welcome King Charles III. Remember that statement of the president saying Mambo ni matatu?
Sure.
I saw Kenyans now saying, well, you gotta change it now to Mambo ni manne. That if you don't go to heaven, you gotta come back and welcome the King Charles III in the country. Another man as well was seen at State House is one Raila Amolo Odinga. And you'd like to think he was there by virtue of invitation.
Sure.
That you can just walk into State House.
That's true.
As a dignitary to go meet King Charles III if you're not invited.
Exactly.
Let's first start with Rai. I mean, are we reading too much into it?
You see, we are looking at two countries that have been enjoying diplomatic relations ever since independence. So we are counting 60 years after independence that we are still enjoying the relationship between Britain and Kenya.
Yes.
And seeing a person like Rai, who is an investor here in Kenya, and we are looking at people because even after Kenya gained independence, we had a stay of the Britons, the European, and the Asian.
Okay.
And at some point, they were actually, actually the strategy that Britons or the British people, the British colony, that they wanted Kenya to be a multiracial country. That a country of mixture of colors, and we had the Europeans and we had Asians, and that's why now we are seeing a figure like Rai is welcoming the King Charles because he's the king and he portrays or he represents the Asian population, the minority now in the country here. And Rai being a major investor in country in multiple industry, he's then of course even the president of course also needs that figure of him to be there as an investor, and of course he's a foreign investor to be there, and of course to show the solidarity that, and of course also portray the picture, the big picture that Kenya we welcome investors, and of course we treat them equally as Kenyans, of course. And of course there's that picture that also that Kenya is portraying of security, that Kenya is safe for investors, and of course they welcome each and every partner that may need to come and invest in Kenya.
Yes. When you look at that, I mean, when the president has been having huge trouble with that particular investor, is that a change of heart, Castro, from the president towards him? Because you would like to think that that particular roster for he will be here, will be received by so and so, he'll move from this point to that point. The president was quite briefed. It was not by chance that Rai appeared there. You would like to say that maybe the president would have said, not him, because Kenyans know that I've been having a problem, a specific problem with him.
You see, the problem that was there between Rai and maybe some Kenyans and then the Western is about the sugar and the sugar economy, and that's the greatest issue that came up. And of course you didn't see Rai opposing to what the president of the country needs, because Rai is an investor. Of course he knows that what is expected of him, and when we have the state's interest to of course secure the interest of farmers, and then the private sector is not much aligned into that, then you see there is that conflict of interest between the states and private sector. And it is not by coincidence that Rai was in State House or he was seen welcoming King Charles. That's something that he's believed also. He is there, and maybe even the plans, when the plans were being made that King Charles would be received in Kenya, he was part of the team that was making these plans. You know, Rai is representing that Kenyan Asian that is I'm telling you that was secured by the British colony by that time. Yes. So him being with the team that is planning, of course, the king's visit, of course, it's seen that there is that collaboration between Kenyans and the Kenyan government, and of course the investors or actually the foreigners who are in the country that come from the Britain and the Asian countries. So there's nothing that is actually should be very of worry that we are seeing Rai and of course we are. So
not talking point, absolutely.
There's nothing that is being that's something that shaded us.
In public relations purposes, right here in the country, that I like the relation that you're giving it. That, well, I mean, it represents something that would be a British picture.
Exactly.
You know, good. But here locally, I mean, is a man we do know that was allegedly kidnapped in the country is a man that the president gave 3 options. All right?
Yeah, sure.
And we did see him take one of those options. And you'd like to think then that maybe in terms of public relations right here in the country, because we don't know where the president stands on that particular issue, it couldn't have appeared. Because we do know that that particular issue, by the way, the president is still talking tough on it. In his latest visit to the Luo, Nyanza,
yes, true.
He again was speaking about this issue relentlessly, saying again, I also gave them the 3 options that they have to take. But now we see him appear in a very stately function like that.
You know, when we are looking at what's the president's timing, because there is the political field and everything. You know, when we are trying to manage the public outcry,
yes,
of course, the president have to, of course, come out very clearly on defending a pro-people agenda. You know, if the people are outcrying about the interest of the sugar, that, you know, their sugar cane is has no value and it's being bought at a low price, and then the president, of course, has to come in. He has to negotiate between the private sector, government, state-owned companies, and the farmer.
Yes. But specifically on the cartels. The president is speaking on the cartels.
On the cartels, because in between, of course, in between the economies and agriculture especially, because we have so many cartels that are coming through. Of course, they are the links between the farmers and the producers or the processors. So we are looking at a situation where farmers' outcry brought the president to the limelight to actually suggest the 3 things that he suggested. It is because of the public, and he's trying to manage the public, the public image. He's trying to manage the public political image. So President RUTO is one who would not want to scare away investments, especially at this time when he's actually looking for them. The government, the Kenya Kwanza government, is actually trying to get more and more foreign investments into the country. Yes. So it is not the time to scare away foreign investment to the country. So we must distinguish between the real politic and the real politic in the ground, and of course the management of the public outcome.
Yes.
So it is not the time for the president now to start scaring away Rai, and you know, there is a millionaire investor here in the country, is a person who contributes a lot of tax, of course, and also even when we come to issues of maybe compassionate, is very compassionate, of course, to actually even help Kenyans out of goodwill, of course, to manage the situations of Kenyans. So it's not a thing that I would actually dwell into much about Rai and the president and everything, because at the end of the day, when politics loses, the people win.
That's it. I'll be coming back to you on that. Let me also cross over to Justice. How are you doing, sir? Justice, can you get me, sir?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Fantastic. There's an opinion that I want to seek from you this morning on the issue of the King Charles III visit into the country. Just as we were talking about the faces that have been the forefront of the visit of King Charles III, one of the faces that we did see is Rai, a man who the president has really spoken heavily against, giving him the 3 options. But it did appear in one of the clips then welcoming King Charles III in the country. But the same thing that I'm asking Castro, was that a public relations blunder right there, Juma?
Well, could be that's the heaven Rai was promised.
Maybe that's the heaven that Rai was promised. Maybe now we're saying that. I don't know.
It was not hell, neither was it heaven.
Maybe that is the heaven. We do not know.
Well, the king visiting, I think, has a number of things that they are communicating.
Yes.
Globally, the issues that are happening, it's actually exposing just a political foundation. And I think I see the king has aligned a number of his activities along the Muslim, and I think he's sending a message that we need to pray for Palestine.
Yes.
But unfortunately, the things that are happening in Palestine still leaves a lot to be decided, because remember in the UN, around 43 countries or nations voted for Israel to go ahead.
Yes.
And decimate Palestine. Around actually 120 countries, nations voted against it. And UN still has decided to go ahead. And they are shouting, they are talking. And again, I think this is a challenge to even the Islamic State. Because I remember one man in Gaza carrying his child who was cut into two, and telling the Islamic society to stop talking.
Yes.
No time to talk, time to act. And Turkey is just nearby. Actually, Turkey has the largest army in the world, and right now it's just appearing to be like a big bird, like its name. Instead of sending troops in Lebanon, where we have Hezbollah, the ones who hate the Jews the most, actually here they're just being kept off by one Israeli woman who is guarding the gate, and no one is doing any sufficient significant intervention on what is happening to Gaza, because historically, since 1948, what is happening to Palestine is what they've always done, and people have stood back and just talked and demonstrating and banning stooges, which British themselves actually been the key ally of Israel in this, with their partner US. And I think this confirms to us whether Israel is a part of US or not, because you saw when Israel was attacked, the whole US government was in Israel. For once, no one has ever seen that, including Speaker and Deputy Speaker, all of them, and even the commander, everybody was in Israel. And as it stands, I think what they are communicating is that there is no more room for diplomacy, there's no more room for democracy. Even in the US, who have been in the forefront, championing freedom of speech and rights, yes, including even LGBTQ. Yes. But when it comes to defending the life and rights of Palestinians, look at them. They are the ones who actually have set their war machines. Actually, they're the ones who destroyed the Yemeni rockets. Yes. So, British, the king is here just to save face. I think it is the wrong place, to save face, because he will meet the rise. Here he will meet, here we make money. So we welcome him to do business.
That's it.
And here we do good business. So let him enjoy while it lasts.
That's it. All right. It's a good thing. I'm going to come back to you. There's another man who appeared at a State House yesterday. I'll be telling you who that was late evening when they were hosting King Charles at State House. It's a good thing Fanya Mambo is in the building as well. Fanya Mambo, how are you doing, sir?
I'm very well, thank you. How are
you?
Karibu
sana.
Greetings to all of them.
Here's the thing. The two men have grabbed the headlines after they appeared in a state function. That was essentially, it's what we say at state function, it is President RUTO's function. He's the one who invited King Charles III into the country. Raila Amolo Odinga was spotted at State House. There have been a lot of stories about how if you belong to the other side of the divide, that door at State House is a no-go zone for you. But Raila Amolo Odinga crossed it and essentially was seen then, talking and having good times with the Kenya Kwanza side. Number two, Rai, a man who the president gave 3 options. especially when it comes to the sugar business in the country, was also seen at the front line of the entourage that was welcoming King Charles III into the country. Let's start with Rai. That's where we are this morning, Fanyamambo. Is it a PR blunder from whoever was organizing this function to have Rai appear with the president?
You know, I want to start from where we know.
That's it.
And I'd like to start from the hustler himself.
Okay.
The hustler is the first person who was told dynasty buyer. Hustler Tawale. The people who say dynasty buyer are hosting the biggest and the richest and the most prominent dynasty in the world, in the country today. And they are inviting the people like Raila Amolo Odinga, who were also called dynasty during the campaigns, to that banquet of dynasties. In addition to it, they are making sure that the taxes of you and me and that hustler in Kiambu and Muranga and Thika are the ones that are financing a dinner for dynasties at State House without any hustler having been invited to that dynasty dinner at State House.
Castro, did you receive invitation?
It goes to tell you, that when the king looked at us, he said that at independence we were fighting poverty, ignorance, and disease. And what has he done? He said, sick you are, but I'll not give you money for sickness. Diseases you have, I'll not give you money for diseases. He said, you have a lot of other problems, but I'll not give you money for them.
Yes.
But for ignorance, for sure, I will give you money. And that's why he has invested some money and given some, I think, 800 whatever million to Kenya for fighting ignorance. Because ameangalia ameona, out of the problems you are fighting at independence, poverty is okay, you can live with it, you've lived with it. He's looked at sickness, he said, it's okay, you can live with it, you've lived with it. But this ignorance, that 7 million people would queue and vote for Kenya Kwanza administration, that ignorance must be cured. And that's why he has put aside money to help Kenya deal with this ignorance of 7 million people who queued and voted for a government that promised them an end to dynasty and is now holding the biggest dynasty in this country, and to a bouquet at State House at a cost to that hustler, and that hustler is not invited in State House. How stupid can we be?
Yes. Yes.
The white man,
yes,
when he left us a system of education that was the Cambridge School Certificate. It was a good system of education. I mean, we have seen the products of it. And then we've seen the products of CPE, including our deputy president. And now we are looking at the products of KCPE, and if you want to know the products of 844, I'm one of them. Look at how I'm speaking here. And now there's CBC that will give us even worse products. So this nation...
Did you like the way you're speaking?
This nation has got one problem, and that problem is ignorance. And the king has realized that we are ignorant people, and we forget very quickly, and we are stupid. There was a deputy president who promised, nitaeka mitego State House. Hakuna mahali Raila atapitia, nitaeka mitego. Kwani mitego ilifail? Ama aliuziwa mitego fake ya kutoka some country that doesn't make good traps? I think we need to do a research on which country makes the best traps for Raila, so that we make those traps work in State House. They did not work.
That's it.
And where is the deputy president who was putting mitegos? Because I didn't see him at the state bouquet. I think Momo was not invited. I think Momo was not invited. But I'd like to say this. What you saw at State House,
yes,
is for anybody who did literature and fasihi, shamba la wanyama.
Yes.
If it did not make sense to you then, it should make sense to you now. That which people sold us was so bad. Dynasty, all these bad people, all these bad things, all the king, all what, are now the people that the person who said are bad is dining with at the expense of the person who was told they are bad, and at a cost to the person who was told they are bad.
Yes.
And the person who was told they are bad is not invited. You know, sometimes hata wangekuwa wanafanya PR, wana invite 2 boda riders, 2 mama mbogas, you know, it would have made sense. But right now, what we are seeing at State House is a slap and an insult to the hustler nation. And if anybody voted for this administration, they need to wake up, they need to smell the breath of fresh air and realize that they were duped, and that ignorance is, yes, the biggest problem. Na hii pesa ikipeano ya masomo, warudi shule, wajifunze kufikiria.
That's it. Castro, we have 2 minutes to go on break. I just want to pick your quick opinion on this. Raila Amolo Odinga appearance at State House. he was invited. He was invited by the president.
Yeah, he was invited.
Yes, but then he chose to appear. So any talk about telling the rest of the ODM members or the guys in opposition not to go close to State House at this particular period when we're talking about when a national dialogue about what they're saying this government would be seen or deemed irrelevant therefore, because we did see who Raila Amolo Odinga was speaking to.
No, it can be irrelevant. It can be irrelevant. And I don't want to concur with the thinking of small men, because there's a difference between Raila Odinga's last night being seen in State House and of course some men walking into State House and telling us that they went for development. We are looking at a loyal family visits into Kenya. The king and the leader of the Commonwealth nations. Yes. So actually Raila Odinga being seen, it is simply signify a very great picture and an image into the country that say we have political stability, that today the president and the official leader of opposition, they can sit and see an eye for an eye. And of course, even him being seen in State House welcoming King Charles and of course saying a word with King Charles, it's a great impression actually to the Kenyan state and of course even to our neighbors and of course internationally, that Kenya have political stability and of course it is a place where every person or every dignitary would want to lead into.
King Charles III was the visitor to President Dr. William Ruto, isn't it?
Yeah, sure.
It is Dr. President William Ruto who invited King Charles III into the country. Yeah, true. So you like to think it's President Dr. William Ruto who invited Raila Amolo Odinga?
Exactly. It is. It is President William Ruto who invited Raila Odinga.
Odinga was the guest for Dr. President William Ruto.
Exactly. Sure. We have a state guest. And then President Ruto, of course, welcomed his friend Raila Odinga to come, of course, and of course be with him and State House.
Would that be bad PR for Raila Amolo Odinga now that the talks at the Bomas of Kenya are the epitome on exactly what we need to do so that it gets a better share of the government?
No, it is not. It is not. So we have two different events here. We have the domestic politics here that we are still wrangling around with, and we have a problem with it. But see, we also still have the diplomatic relations and international relations that, of course, we have to uphold. So Kenya, and actually maybe Raila Odinga has no problem with Britain, and the same case with Kenya, and of course, as a Kenyan and as a respected leader of the Republic of Kenya, of course, being seen. Seeing him in State House, actually, it implies a very good picture for the Republic of Kenya. So there's no problem
Castro,
with that.
Come back to you, because there are guys who have actually spoken on this particular issue. And this is the question. What would have been good for Raila Amolo Odinga in his push to have a say in the talks at the Bomas of Kenya, that upon that invitation, what headline could have been better? Is it Raila Amolo Odinga appears in State House with President Dr. William Ruto, or Raila Amolo Odinga turns down an invitation by President Dr. William Ruto to State House to meet King Charles III?
Of course,
at this particular moment, because you do agree that Raila Amolo Odinga was President Dr. William Ruto's visitor, isn't it? Yes.
So we still want to see Raila Odinga as the opposition leader. Of course, he is, and we still want to that. Many Kenyans want to put, of course, to escalate and of course put a big gap between President William Ruto and Raila Odinga. And of course, him seen in State House does not threaten the talks in Bomas of Kenya. The talks are actually, and they are at no point impeded by the two individuals. Although the two individuals just initiated the process, and the process is ongoing very well.
Yes, you say that, Castro, we do agree. You see, that is well known. Some people have been in problems with Raila Amolo Odinga just because they've decided to visit State House without the knowledge of Raila Amolo Odinga. And that was upon the invitation of the president.
We are looking at two different pictures here. Yes. So we are looking at the domestic politics here, of course, and the party politics, because that's what we are dealing with.
Yes.
We have a party politics here, and of course a shared political Linda, that is of course former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, invited in a banquet of dinner with King Charles III.
Yes.
And then we want to attach both of them into the domestic politics, and then we want to do politics with the issue here.
That's it. Because Castro, how different is it from all the other invitations from the other party members where the president said, well, I'm inviting you so we can talk about development for the country.
Yeah, sure.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
And this time around, Raila Amolo Odinga was invited to meet the guests for the president. Which one is bigger? Because if the other one is bigger to Kenyans, then we should be talking about why Raila Amolo Odinga did not turn down that visit.
We can help Castro on that.
Yeah, yes. Here's the thing. Let me pick your sentiments on that as well. Here's the thing, Justus. That's yes. What we're saying. But do you think that the bigger headline could have been that Raila Amolo Odinga turns down an invitation from the president to meet his guest?
No sentiment on that, but there are facts. Let me give you some facts.
Yes.
When we were going to the general election, I stated that Kenyans were forced to choose between a fox and a wolf.
Yes.
Who should hit them? And of course, they ended up with a fox. But prior to the election, all individuals go to Chatham House. They would go around in Europe, they would go around in the States, and now you can see the people they were bowing down to.
Yes.
When those masters come knocking, you can see they even forget the local PRs that they play us to. And the persons who actually have been choosing for Kenyans, their leaders, right now you could see them. They were yesterday in the State House. And you saw the club. As my friend earlier said, that it was a Jamba la Wanyama. Yes, true, I would agree with him. The Wanyama here. And these Wanyama are here, and they've always stayed. And actually, these are the liberation quest that actually Africa has to stand up to.
Yes.
Because even at day and age, if the colonial master are still coming, and then when they knock, you saw our guys are running. They do not even actually consider their own moral stand politically. They would go down and bow at the foot of the individual. Actually, have raven our economy. People who looted our economy. People who, you remember, these guys used to literally take our cows because of soil erosion. They say every home should have 3 cows or 2 cows, and they take 100 by force. And this is how they built. This is how they built their wealth. Look at you saw the other day when they were parading in UK, and then you could see the chariots of gold. Mugabe wondered and asked them where they were getting the gold from. Yet there's no gold in UK. These are all resources of Africa.
Yes.
And these have maintained this colonial structure and system, which is being fueled by few agents from our midst. And these few agents are the cartels who have made sure that our institutions are not working, who have made sure that citizens' sovereignty is ineffective, actually is inverted. And these are the very, very individuals who, when they meet together, they choose among themselves who should be their representative, and they play games and they do business among themselves.
Yes.
And who suffers is the same citizen. But I think to me is a clarion call.
Yes.
And it's a good picture that fellow citizens observe. It is a moment that we all now identify our true enemy.
Yes.
And deal with him as he deserves. Because when you say not to Uhuru, indeed they confirmed yesterday that we do not have Uhuru. We just still have home guards who are agents of the colonial master, and they would not even hide in the daylight from their pretense. Those are the people who have been used, and they are still being used by the colonial master to perpetuate our operation.
That's it. Fanya Mambo, let's paint a picture. That's the answer that I was trying to get from Castro this morning. That whichever way you look at it, Raila Amolo Odinga was the guest to President Dr. William Ruto. If I invite you to my house to meet my guest, you're essentially my guest. You're not the guest to King Charles III, because King Charles III was your guest. So Raila Amolo Odinga yesterday was the guest to Dr. President William Ruto. A bad PR move from him as well?
Where was this happening? The king had come to check the house his father built, because State House was built by their fathers. This is their house. Let's start there. They know it better than we know ourselves. Lenana School used to be housed there. It was the governor's residence, so that time.
Yeah.
So they had come to check their residence, and they had come to check our loyalty to them, whether we are still colonized by the UK, and
Yes.
we are. The party at State House was a dynasty party. That needs to be understood and underlined. And any hustler out there who thinks that that was a big bouquet for this nation, something is wrong with their head. That was a party for dynasties. And that's why the president picked anybody that he thought and felt and believed. Because once you become president, you become dynasty. So the leading dynasty in the world had come, King Charles III, and then now you start picking who is dynasty in Kenya. In fact, I think maybe they probably may have invited President Uhuru Kenyatta, the former president. Maybe he refused to come. But all I'm trying to say is that anybody who is dynasty was invited to that.
Yes.
And that's why the question of Rai comes, because Rai is not poor. Rai is also dynasty. Rai has money. He has old money, he has new money, and he has money for tomorrow and money for his children's children and their great-grandchildren. Those are the kind of people who will be invited to State House to eat your money, you hustlers. Munasumbuliwa na KRA huku kila siku. They are coming to your shops to check whether you've paid taxes. That is the money that is being chewed at State House. And by the way, sometimes I think something is very wrong, inherently wrong with us, because we are discussing the wrong things. The right thing is this. Our biggest trading partner is Uganda. No other country spends more money in Kenya than Uganda, if Kenyans didn't know.
Yes.
Is that the kind of treatment that President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni gets when he comes here? We are happy to clap for those people who give us coins, loans, dons. They give us loans, then they give us donor funding, then they give us what they call a grant. The balance of trade between Kenya and the UK is skewed more towards the UK. They sell more to us than we sell to them. So that if we sell to them a kg of coffee at 150 shillings or 100, right now coffee is even actually below 100 shillings per kilo, they return to us Nescafe and another one I don't know called Dormans. A small sachet like this is 10 shillings. So they end up selling to us the same kilo of coffee at 5, 6, 10,000 times the price that we sold it to them for, because they go and dilute it with other stuff and then it is repackaged and sold to us. How inherently stupid are we? Let me tell you, unless and until the time comes when we start saying that for colonial masters it is about interest. They do not come to Kenya because they like you. They do not come to Kenya because they like the smell of your country or the smell of your coffee or anything. They come to this country because they have an interest and because they make more money here,
yes,
than you make with them. The balance of trade is skewed towards them. The people we should be celebrating and clapping for and receiving with state commendation and all that army are the people who give us money that is trade money, that doesn't come with loans, that is not a grant, and it's not a guy looking down on you and saying you're a poor country and we are here to help you. That kind of state reception should have been for Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, because Uganda gives more money to Kenya than the UK in terms of trade. But we like the people who give us grants. We like the people who give us loans. We like the people who lord over us. We like the people who show us that you are down there and we are up here. And that is why the king is always reminding you, you are ignorant, you are ignorant, you are so ignorant. And of all the problems you have, ignorance is the biggest. And that's why we are giving you money to help you revamp your education system and become wiser and start thinking. Because when you become wiser, you will sort out all your other problems. He has looked at you, and he has dedicated no money to eradication of poverty. He has dedicated no money to eradication of disease. He has dedicated money to eradication of ignorance. Because another 7 million of you will queue again in 2027 and tell you that dynasties are bad. And you will vote against dynasties. And then that administration will invite in 2028 another big dynasty to this country to dine with them. And ignore the hustlers who will have voted for that government that they were told dynasty is bad. So the biggest problem we have is this thinking that there is a country out there that is so huge and beautiful and good that is more important to us. Let me tell you, the people we need the most are Tanzanians, are Ugandans, are the Rwandese. These are the people who spend more money in Kenya than Kenyans spend in their country. These are the people we should be clapping for. These are the people we should be inviting and giving first priority. And who should be invited in that bouquet? The boda boda, the mama mboga. Those are the people, yule mtu alimwagiwa smoky na kanjo. Those are the people who should be invited to see the king or whoever is coming here in this country. But who is being invited? The people you were told are bad. The people you were told are dynasties. In fact, mwenye ulipelekwa Bondo, si mulikuwa mnavote mpeleke Raila Bondo. I think State House iko Bondo. We need to wake up as a country and start using our brains.
That's it. Pretty much. Castro, here's the thing. I want us to take a tiny breather, gentlemen, so that we move away from this particular issue and go into the next one. Once we come back, Juma, Fanyamambo, and Castro will be telling us exactly how do you rate a performing governor. And this is why, if you look at the Daily Nation today, top 10 governors have been rated in the country. One name sticks out, Kawira Mwangaza, at 63%. One of the best performing. The best performing we've seen has 70%. But guess what? Kawira Mwangaza is not wanted by the county assembly because as we speak now, her impeachment motion is already seated at the Senate, and they're going to listen to it. They voted not to go to the plenary and sort of not to go to the committee and just go to a plenary. So every senator in that house is going to listening to exactly what is wrong with Kawira Mwangaza. What is a performing governor in respect to Kawira Mwangaza's case? Once we come back right here on The Morning Drift, you can join us online at Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. Once we come back, what is a performing governor?
Story.
Introducing the Kenya Trade Fair Fusion Sales Drive event in the heart of Nairobi at the Kenya National Archives. It's not just an event, it's sales generation with a remarkable return on investment. Get ready to let your booth do the talking as you study new market trends with lots of entertainment featuring traditional live bands, DJs and artists. For vendor registration, call 0724-715-334 or 0713-907-584 or 0723-861-173.
IE.
Praise the Lord and Bwana Yesu asifiwe sana. My name is Pastor Joseph. I'm from a ministry called Reconcilers World. God gives strength to the weary. I am, Jesus is speaking. He says, I am the door. Then he says, anyone who enters in through me will be saved. The Lord is my shepherd or shepherd. Then he says, I will always have everything I need. God desires to guide you. He's telling you that this day, don't just trust the Lord, but he's telling you, trust the Lord widely.
The story we're telling today is a story of passion in practice that grows into business.
We have partnered with the Youth Fund, talk to as many youth as possible and work with them, hold their hand.
It is an expose of captains who have decided to take on challenges in different sectors and industries within the country.
My mentors had also not started as CEOs. They grew up and they showed me how they grew in the organizations. So that's what motivated me to actually do international business. And it was a good experience.
As an individual, support in bridging the care gap, part of me also to offer a solution. I want to leave this world a better place than I found it.
This is the Captain's Arena. My name is Simba Kiage.
As the night falls, we come to life to bring you a comprehensive broadcast from the numerous events happening across our 47 counties.
When it breaks, it matters, and each story is important.
If it's Thursday, join me, Nancy Lelima, and my able panelists as we break down the law jargons and analyze the Constitution in a way only you can understand.
The news cycle never stops, neither does time. We cover each and every sector and present to you factual and accurate occurrences. This is where facts win the day. Join me,
Nancy Lelima,
Ian Keitani, Tuesday, every Wednesday,
Thursday,
as from 9 p.m. on The Insight, only on Lookuptv.
All right. Let's then welcome you back to this session. We are into what is the second last session this morning. Let's look at one of the dailies this morning. That is the Daily Nation. I do not know whether my director then can actually show you that particular headline. In the front page, you're going to see what is essentially a headline that is talking about the best performing governors in the country. All right. All the way from those who scored 70% with the likes of Gladys Wanga to around 60%, 63%. And you're going to find a name in those, that is Kawira Mwangaza at 63%. But what is really shocking is that even as she is ranked as one of the best performing governors in the country, she's also now facing her second impeachment bid, one that has now changed from a committee plenary just to an entire plenary session of the senators debating on the case Tuesday afternoon argued that through the plenary, the issues being presented by the county assembly will be looked into keenly, with women senators arguing that the committee locks them out of participating in such cases. Let's take a look at that particular story. Once we come back, the question I'll be asking the gentleman on the set this morning is, how do you know if a governor is best performing in line with Kawira Mwangaza's woes? Once we come back.
The mandate of the Senate is to prosecute this matter at the plenary. However, the Senate in its own wisdom can decide to form a committee.
If you want a special committee, you bring a resolution. You seek a resolution of the House. Otherwise, by default, this Senate is supposed to process impeachments in plenary.
As women leaders, we are tired of people insinuating that we are flower girls, insinuating that we are being protected. Let her come to plenary, Mr. Speaker, and defend her leadership.
On whether or not it finds the particulars of the allegations against the governor to have been substantiated, will, as many as of that opinion, say aye. Aye. Will, as many of the contrary opinion, say nay. Nay. The nays have it.
It was a very strong rejoinder from the senators who were seated in the House. Just before I cross over to Juma, let me come to you, Castro. How do you know if a governor is really best performing? If indeed Kawira Mwangaza is in the top 10, but she's facing a second impeachment in barely 2 years in office.
No, you see, before I answer that question, of course, yeah. I like how my friend here talked about ignorance and how the king is coming to actually show us how we are ignorant. But I have to destroy some ignorance here. We cannot reduce his visitation into Hassan dynasty. You know, we are looking at the diplomatic relations of Kenya and UK, yes, and Britain. countries that have enjoyed 60 years of foreign relations, and of course we are looking that Kenya, of course, is a destination of British investments. Here in Kenya we have thousands of British investments in the country. We are looking at a country that we cooperate in security matters, that military, of course, we have the loyal marine navy, of course, training our marine soldiers here in the country. We look at a country that, of course, we also is a destination. Actually, it's the second destination of our exports in the European Union, and of course that makes it a bigger picture. And of course, the royal family actually getting a chance, and this is the first visitation into a Commonwealth nation after his coronation in September 2022. So it's a great implication that Kenya is safe for him and for any other dignitary, and of course other presidents that would want to land into Kenya. And Kenya is, of course, enjoys that political and security stability, yes. And it's a good sign, of course, and builds confidence for Kenya outside there. So, and of course that builds up a tourist attraction, of course, built up investment, foreign investment attraction, of course. So there is that room that is giving us as a country, and of course that's it feeds us, of course, that builds out confidence internationally. Now, coming to your question on how the governor's performance, looking at Governor Kawira Mwangaza, that have, of course, gone through first impeachment, and she went, of course, she saved herself, and then we have another impeachment that is threatening her stay in the office. We must differentiate between the politics of the day and the developmental politics. Today, MCAs have, of course, given the reasons why they are impeaching the Governor Kawira Mwangaza. No, sir. They have given about the nepotism, about maybe misuse of power and office. Yes. That's true. Yes. And now it is the Senate to interrogate the facts and reasoning of the MCA. Mm-hmm. And I would request the Senate to be very rational on this issue, because any other governor would face this challenge, even if it's propagated politically or even for personal reasons that maybe Kawira Mwangaza is being persecuted mm-hmm. for. So there's the politics in Meru, because barely even less than a year, the MCA, the county assembly, had tried to impeach Governor Kawira Mwangaza. Yes. So there is a big reason why the Senate should actually look into this matter. And I love how they actually wanted to go to plenary, so that every Senate got a chance, and of course they get a chance to hear from Kawira Mwangaza and the government, the county government of Meru, and that way, of course, even Kenyans will have the chance, of course, to know why and how is that reason coming up. So, and she's, of course, also rated to be a well-performing governor, even when she's, of course, going through some persecutions and some ruggles and fights with the county assembly.
Do you find that interesting, Castro, that over the other side, people view you as the best-performing governor, but within your government, the people work close to you. You know, you have to work with the MCS.
That's true.
To approve the development agenda within your county. Exactly. They're the ones who think that they're the worst performing they've ever seen. Look at the second vote. All of them believe that Kawira Mwangaza should be out of office. All of them, Castro. And we're here rating as the best performing governor.
See, we have, of course, there's some political interest, and of course, even from the news, and of course, even the streets, yes. You will hear that there are some big men, of course, interfering with the process, and of course,
allegedly,
yeah, that's allegedly, yes. Allegedly interfering, and of course, there is that politics, because at the end of the day, this the office politics also it's coming into play. And having that interference with, of course, you had the MPs, you had even the CAs, some of the CAs, trying to actually interfere with the workings of Governor Kawira Mwangaza. But at the end of the day, if the Senate will fight that Kawira Mwangaza, of course, the reasons that the MCA have for her impeachment, they are good enough for her to be impeached.
Yes.
Then at the end of the day, she will not carry the day, but she will be impeached.
Castro, I'll be coming back to you on exactly then how we look at what is about a best performing governor. Juma, and that's the question that I want to put to you, and you're going to have to respond to it. Also, attach it with whatever Kawira Mwangaza is going through. I mean, Juma, she is in the top 10 best performing governors in the country, but then when you look at the avenue at which a governor can perform better, it has to be through her local county government. But a local county government is saying, not once, by the way, in the 2 years, in the barely 2 years she's been in office, twice now, that she is the worst to work with. Juma, where is the disconnect? Are we getting the ratings wrong?
Well, let me tie it in with a rejoinder to the initial topic we went on. Take a break on, because and my brother talked about them investing in education, and Fanya Mambo is true. The type of education they invest in, they know will eventually produce no effect. You know, the type of education we've been going through, and when you talk about the health, if you invest in health, it is concrete. If you alleviate poverty, is concrete.
Yes.
But they know they already established a curriculum which definitely they know its end game, and the end game will not produce the desired result, just as you mentioned earlier. And back to the governance and the local executive, which actually reflect the national executive, because the syndrome around the executives are all the same, and most of them actually go for cronyism, go for tribalism, go for friends, at the expense of merit. And you've seen that even at the national executive,
yes,
where merit has been thrown off the window. And then I would be interested to understand the indicators that are being used to, award or even rank the performance of these governors. Because as it stands, I've had cases of, a county, like now, that was Kisii, where somebody paraded all the drivers on the stadium and gave them a vehicle to drive, and the drivers couldn't even drive. You've had cases where the high wage bill is so congested by employees, like now those drivers.
Yes.
Where you find a county hospital has ICU equipment, and it does not have ICU doctor because there is no room to employ an ICU doctor because the county doesn't have money. So if county governments would be led on meritocracy,
yes,
and devoid of cronyism and tribalism and this clanism, then citizens will receive or will get more impact on development than compared to these shenanigans that you're being treated to. And then, of course, it's a political office. Being a political office, you must be circumspect. If Mwangaza is linear in our political management, and I think these are more areas where people like Mwangaza should be advised to invest on consultants. There's some of these things that you cannot manage alone. And I think that's also the syndrome. It's a UDA syndrome. Because if you look at it, even from the national executive, the guy is a one-man show. He wants to run all the cabinet. He wants to run the military, run the judiciary. He wants to run he's running even the National Assembly. And then these are the things that are limiting the progress of a nation. So if we are to be fair in ranking these individuals, I think, yes, we need to scrutinize the ranker and the benchmark that the ranker was using to determine the performance of these county governors. But as it stands, if you go to the grassroots, where I am now, because I am on the grassroots, and the things that the citizens are feeling on the grassroots, these people are detached. They do not even adhere to a public participation. They do not actually generate the agendas from bottom up. Now you've seen how the bottom up looked like yesterday in State House. The bottom up down here is a mess.
Yes.
There are no roads, there are no water, there are no hospitals. If anything, the citizens they are actually, you've seen even the current inflation on and the cost of living. Citizens are feeling the weight on the ground. And if you're on the ground, you'll confirm and bear with me that these people are completely detached. They're locked up in their offices because even the allocations they're having is all disappears in recurring expenditures. There's nothing left to invest. So I'm wondering the background that the ranker was using to rank these best performers and what did they perform best in? Because as you've said, you've seen even those who are having poor political management are being ranked as the best. So sometimes even these foundations for ranking, sometimes they expose themselves. But
yes.
Those who perform better, well, I'll give them, I'll commend them. But let's focus on impacting on the life of the citizen on the grass.
Pretty much. Fanya Mambo. I want to read for you this report just before I move over to get your evaluation on this. Now, let's go back to financial year 2021-2022. That's where this report comes from. That if you look at majority of the counties, that of the 47 counties in the country, none of them had met their own source revenue. That these counties are still struggling to raise the money. And this is what they said. A report by the controller of budget essentially says that counties are still struggling to meet the revenue targets a decade later. She continued to say, if you look at exactly how these counties then got this revenue, you're going to say that of the 47 counties, none of them had been able to meet its revenue target since the advent of devolution. That hasn't changed. Goes on to say here that, in fact, if you look at the amount of money that they collected, I'm just trying to source for that information, out of the amount of money that the 47 counties were supposed to, here it is. If you look at, let's go back to 2015, even 2016, the controller budget revealed that the target was 50.5 billion, but the counties only managed to raise 35.02 billion. Even the targets were a bit lower. Let's continue. If you go back to 2019-2020 financial year, county government generated 35.7 billion, which represents 65.2% of the set annual target of 54.9 billion. Again, this was a big decrease compared to the 40.3 billion the devolved units generated in 2018-2019. If you go back to 2019-2022, only 2021-2022, county government generated 34.44 billion, which was 64.2% of the annual target, 53.66 billion. Again, a decrease compared to the 35.7 generated in financial year 2019-2020. Fanya Mambo, if indeed we're going to talk about why it matters most to start ranking a governor, it is that these counties now, more than 10 years after devolution, that we'll be having some counties that are saying, you see, that target that we've been given by the national government as a county, we are generating more or close to that. Let's, case in point, Nairobi. It's supposed to be generating 68 billion in a year in terms of revenue, but they never got close to that. They're always talking about shortfalls. Some of these governors, in fact, all of them, you and I actually spoke about this. They were threatening to shut down county governments when the government failed to remit the national cake in good time. Let's begin like this. Shouldn't that be the level of ranking a top performing governor? And number two, if Kawira Mwangaza is in that list and she's facing a second impeachment drive, shouldn't we be saying maybe part of being a good governor is that the politics in your county government should also be that stable to allow you to perform?
Thank you very much. You know, just before the elections, there was a coalition called Azimio, like the La Umoja coalition.
Yes.
That read info-track statistics and followed them.
Yes.
They didn't even need to have agents in their polling stations. you know what happened. So when you talk about InfoTrack, sometimes it's good to read the paper when you're looking this other side. Otherwise, you might end up where Azimio ended. You'll not even have polling stations. Some of these governors, if they are following this, they won't even campaign. Wataanguka pajichore kamutu hapo chini kwa kaunti zao. Now, having said that, you know, sometimes it's really sad. You know, there are cases in court today.
Yes.
Of people who are mere accountants at county assemblies, including one that happened, at county governments, including one that happened in Nairobi, whose salary is 85,000, but who have 1, 2, 3, 4 billion in their accounts. Counties collect more money than the national government. I think I need to repeat that for people to hear. Counties collect more money than the national government. But they have ensured that their systems of collecting this money are so opaque and so clouded in mystery that nobody will understand. Let me tell you. Have you ever had counties telling the national government to give them money to buy those ugly pickups they buy? By the way, they're always unroadworthy. Umeona za Nairobi? They're always unroadworthy with mesh wire everywhere, including on the driver's window. I don't know how he sees, because they are stoned. Those people collect money with a lot of impunity. When Daniel Motutho, when Motutho was in charge of Nakada, he told us that there were 20,000 bars in Nairobi that time, and around Umoja Inako, I think about 1,000 of them. The trading license for a bar is about 20,000 shillings, just the business permit. So 20,000 shillings times 20,000 bars is about 400 million shillings on bars only in Nairobi. You've not collected what they call fire. I don't know why they charge you for fire, and then they have fire engines that don't get there in good time.
Yeah. There's also the health certificate.
There's the health certificate. There's, you know, by the time they are done with your pub, you as a pub owner, you've probably paid close to 100,000. So you're saying from bars alone, these people collect in excess of 2 billion. Where is the money? And let me tell you, you cannot operate without a county license. Try, you dare. Utajua hizo pickup ni za nini. You dare. Jaribu saa hii ukose kulipa parking. They keep telling us how many parking slots. Just go to Nairobi, I'm telling you today. You can get away with stealing your neighbor's sufuria, but you cannot get away with not paying parking in Nairobi. Those breakdowns, unroadworthy breakdowns, towing roadworthy vehicles, you've seen a lot of them here. Kuja hapa saa hii, you have a small breakdown with your car. If you are hit by a car, before you get a county ambulance, people will have taken you to hospital in their cars because you'll be there writhing in pain for hours on end. But dare get a breakdown with your car on this road today. Kama 15 minutes zitaisha kabla breakdown ya county kuje. We have more county breakdowns than we have ambulances. So I am telling you, counties collect more money than the national. You're talking of the national government collecting 2-point-something trillion. Where are they collecting it from? It's not from Nairobi. It's from Kenyans across the country. So when it is KRA collecting money from the counties, KRA collects 2.9, 2.7 billion. But when it is county governments collecting money from the same people, they'd collect 35 billion, all of them combined. Shame on them. What are they telling us? Shame on them 1,000 times. What are they telling us? That the national government does not collect money from Mesopotamia.
Yes.
It does not collect money from Russia or Ukraine or Japan.
Yes.
It collects money from these counties combined, and it collects more than 2 trillion. But those counties individually, the governor was born there. He knows every panya route in his county, but he's not able to collect 2 billion. What are they telling us? These people are stealing our money. It's a lot of pilferage. It's a lot of stealing that is happening at the counties. And if you want to know, I want them to conduct a lifestyle audit of the senior people in counties who have access to this money.
Yes.
And that's when you'll understand the kind of lives they live, the kind of houses they have, and the monies they have in their bank accounts. Some of them have a 4-bedroom house, and 1 bedroom is a store for money. We know these people. So all we are telling people is that in fact, we need to change the law so that only KRA is mandated to collect money from Kenyans. Because then, if all these monies were being collected by KRA, all of them, I can assure you Kenya would collect in excess of 5 trillion. And then now it is distributed on that percentage they were saying. In fact, each county will get more money. If you want to know that they are collecting money, can you declare from tomorrow that only KRA will collect money all over the country? You will see what governors will do. They will have serious demonstrations. There will be a stampede. There will be a problem. They will not allow KRA to collect money, which they are saying they are raising. They will not allow, they are missing the target. You tell them, okay, we have somebody who can hit the target for you. Let us collect using this person called KRA. They will not accept because there is no target they are missing. They are collecting a lot of money from Kenyans. They are stealing a lot of money from Kenyans. And that's why you had one time when a governor had a case in court about some murder case. And then there was 2.5 billion in his account and he hadn't done 3 years in office. There was another case of another governor who had 5 billion in his account. Yes. And another one whose daughter at a university here had 100 million. And he was at pains to explain how your daughter in university, what are you doing in the university if you have 100 million and you are 21, 22 years old and driving a Mercedes to the university? And then the county is not collecting money. We are not fools. Thank you.
Castro, if we're going to rate best performing governors, if a governor is facing a second impeachment bid in less than 2 years in office, then maybe she shouldn't be in the list. Because part of you running that county is political stability in your government.
Of course, but you know, political stability in your country, in your county.
In your county.
Yeah, that's what actually I'm talking about. In your county, look at the executive relations with the registration. The legislature and the executive in the county government, relating and working and coexisting.
Yes.
And you know, both bodies, they do interdependence. But there is one body that wants to, of course, jeopardize the other body. So, in the case of Kawira Mwangaza, the county assembly actually is jeopardizing the delivery and of services in Meru. We are looking at where the executive actually threatened its stay in the government by the legislature of Meru County Assembly. So your performance, of course, we are not just looking at the political stability to determine your performance, of course. We're also looking at the prudence use of county resources. And of course, we are looking at the developmental agenda that you are taking to the people.
Castro, I like the way you're
naming
saying
a road after your husband.
I like the way you're saying it, but then Castro, are we imagining here that a county governor makes her own decisions before they go back to the county assembly for passing? So if they're saying no to some of these decisions you're making, then it means that you are on your own. How is she in that list if they're saying no to whatever she's pushing to them?
You know, if today the county executive proposes a development agenda to the county assembly, and then the county assembly declines, and the development is pro people, then you can tell that this thing is not about the county assembly, or it's not about the county itself. Actually, it's a struggle between personal interests. There's a personal interest that is actually outshining the interest of the people.
Which I do agree, Castro, which why I do say that you as a county governor then should make sure that your county assembly is conducive enough for you to work. Whose responsibility is it just to make politics in a county stable?
It is the responsibility of course of the governor to ensure that there's about political stability in your county. And again, there's that political relations between you and the MCAs. But we're looking at the MCAs now making some demands for the county assembly, the county government or the governor and the executive. And then there's the reasoning of the county executive of declining the interest of the MCAs. That's why the ragos actually they are coming out, because there's that development money that the MCAs they were asking for, and then the Governor Kawira Mwangaza declined giving them money, and actually asked them actually to present the developments that your wards or your people would want, or the privileges, and of course the what your people and the interests of your people would need and addressed by the county.
Yes.
And then the issue here is about the sharing of resources in the county of Meru, sharing resources between the executive and the county assembly. So we are looking at MCAs elected by the people, representing the people, and they need money to work for the people. And we are looking also for the governors also interest, elected by the people, and of course working for the same people with the MCAs.
Castro, just take 45 seconds because I want to pick the last sentiments from Juma this morning as we close out this morning, that if indeed there is no governor in the country 13 years later after devolution who's meeting their own source revenue, then that ranking is as useless as it can get, Castro. Because no county government can stand here today and say, we are actually running our own affairs. They're still heavily dependent on the national government.
Yeah, sure. They are heavily dependent on the national government because these resources are not enough.
Yes.
But we cannot rubbish the info tract and the assignment that have been done here and the ranking of the governors. Of course, even as we can see there's some governors that are performing. We have the governor of Gladys Wanga. Of course, we can give her mark. She's really trying to make the country the country run. We're also looking at our Governor Muranga, Governor Irungu Kangata. He's also trying to make Muranga, of course, run. And of course, you know, bringing the services, the essential services closer to the people, that's actually the core interest of why devolution was actually brought.
Yes.
It's to bring these basic necessities closer to the people. We're looking at education, we look at the health, and let's talk of so that these health services that are run by the government, they are now working. We have the water facilities, they are now running, of course, and we are looking at the whole government actually devolutionizing and decentralizing the whole government closer to the people.
That's it. Let me pick the sentiments of Juma then before we close out. Juma, you only have 45 seconds. Please, if you can, that if indeed no governor is going to talk about them meeting this own source revenue designed by the national government, then indeed this ranking can be as useless as it can be.
It's the African problem, it's the national problem, now it's the county problem because people don't focus on production.
Yes.
People focus on aid and tokenism that are coming from various quarters. And it's very sad that is in this day and age, we have refused to focus on production. If we were to focus on production, even the current policies that the national government has embraced of high taxation, because you find the county government, especially the Kenyan citizen, is double taxed because there's another taxation from the famous national tax, where our guy is taxing everything, including, I think even the king, if he's not careful, may be taxed. And locally, the county governments, again, are also collecting exorbitant taxes, which, as my brother said, actually are just ending up in people's pockets. Because you look at those managers, and then you're wondering, it's talking about Gladys Wanga. I just walked into his county just the other day in Homa Bay. You find the largest fish supplier or producer in the nation right now from our county, Victory Farm, is a Muzungu man who actually is paying the locals peanuts and taking all the money out. What's stopping her from equipping her own people to also have competitive production? What is stopping her to make the Kabunde airport that she launched the other day functional? I was trying to take a flight from Nairobi to Kabunde. There's no flight. And you walk down there, you know, when you look at this ranking and the reality on the ground. And I'm even driving from Bita to Sindo, where that guy is producing fish. There's no road. And then all this hullabaloo of who is performing and who is doing what, if you go back to the grassroots and look at what is being done, then you'll be so amazed. You'll only find that those governors have grown wax and fat, and then they are cronies. Yet the people continue to suffer without production. And policies that are friendly to production.
In 15 seconds, Juma.
Yes, the nation actually stands at a challenge.
Yes.
If we are not going to focus policies that are helping us to produce even our own revenue. As we're talking, I tell you, still the citizen will be having difficult challenges. Challenges in experiencing proper development on the grassroots.
There's a gentleman, I wish we had more time to go into these particular issues. Another issue that we really have to talk about when we have time is Margaret Nyakango, the controller of budget, saying that she doesn't understand why her office is allocated 3 times the budget from the National Treasury. The question that she didn't tell that National Dialogue Committee is that when that money comes, what does she do? She didn't say that we had to refund that money back to the National Treasury when we realized that this money had been allocated, and so continues to say that is the same case for other officers as well. You wonder how bad things are, and she's saying that she's telling the National Treasury, you are part of the problems that this country is going through, so you gotta stop. On